So, what's your earliest school memory?
Getting in trouble.
I want to ask this question again. Who was Erin O'Toole as a kid?
Well, as a kid, I was someone that was exposed to a lot of love in the family, a lot of opportunities to play sports and try activities, beavers, cubs, all that sort of stuff. Bit of a smartass at times, but also a big brother that tried to not only tease, but to help my siblings. And lots of potential, being steered in the right way, but being kind of mischievous and not living up to the potential till a little bit later. And it's part of the reason I joined the military, was to try and get, a little more serious, mature, and certainly to get someone to knock the chip off my shoulder, which the military gladly did.
So I actually have a question in here. So you're the eldest sibling.
Of 5. Yeah.
And so you're the eldest sibling. Do you think you had an obligation to look out for people? Do you think that was part of something being a big brother?
I think there is something to that. I love my brothers and sisters a lot. Probably don't stay in touch with them as much as I should. But that was a role. And when I was at military college, in one of our military leadership classes, they asked everyone to put up their hand that was the oldest born in their family. And it was 90% of the class. And the remainder were almost the youngest. And so I think all of us have our role. And as big brother, I always tried to look out for my siblings and to be positive, even through tough times like when we lost my mom. Need to be positive and look after your younger siblings. Well, when I was young, my mom got breast cancer, and in the early 80s, breast cancer, the prognosis wasn't very good, and so she got treatments at Princess Margaret. It was very strange as a kid, because I saw it as normal, that my mom was working but was getting treatments, and then eventually had to go off work, and then eventually was at home in the palliative stage of cancer. So we tried to make it as normal as possible, but obviously I was 9 when I lost my mom, and my sisters were younger. So it was a wake-up call for life that things can change very, very quickly. So you have to persevere, you have to make the best of what you've got, and never lose sight of how fortunate you are to have family and to have a good life. You definitely grow up faster. Kids are supposed to see their parents as invincible, and they kind of are. You rely on them. It's the first person that you kind of know. So when you lose one, you know that life is fragile, that nothing is certain. And so I think if anything, it made me grow up a little bit. It also made me look out for my siblings and try and seize every moment. Carpe diem. Make sure you seize the day and make the most of the gifts you've been given. As I approached the end of high school, I knew I needed something bigger in life. I needed to put myself into a situation where I was pushing myself physically, mentally, and doing something that was bigger than myself. And so that's what led me to look into joining the military. I knew I needed some of that discipline, but I also wanted to be challenged. My grandfathers served in the war, in the Air Force in World War II, but didn't talk about it much. My parents thought I was crazy. They didn't think I'd actually survive the summer of boot camp. But it was an opportunity for me to really try and push myself. In retrospect, it's the best decision I made in my life, because it really gave me that discipline, gave me that drive, gave me that ability to work with others and to achieve. And I look back at my time in the military very, very fondly. Well, when I was at Winnipeg, getting my wings as a navigator at the Air Navigation School, at the end you had your choice. Depending on how many spots there were, you could go on Auroras, which was a maritime aircraft. You could go Hercules, or Sea King, which I thought was really cool because the navigator there hunted submarines, did search and rescue, and could even go down on the rescue hoist out of the back door of the helicopter. So it was a very hands-on job as an operator. And that's what led me to go Sea Kings on the East Coast. Great decision because I met my wife in Halifax. And then I got to sail primarily on HMCS St. John's, an incredible ship. I got to see Atlantic Canada, the European deployment we had to Norway. We had training with the United States. It was incredible. And one of my last operational missions, we actually got to rescue an injured fisherman at sea and take him to the hospital in Yarmouth. I got to go down on the rescue hoist and help bring him up in what's called a Stokes litter to get him off to hospital. And our crew was recognized for that mission. And it was incredible to be able to serve alongside great Canadians, projecting our sovereignty as a country, but also helping people. I was in the military when I met Rebecca. In fact, it was at a Junior A Mooseheads hockey game, and it was military appreciation night, and one of my best friends, Darren, was there with the Navy, and Darren and his wife always wanted me to meet her friend Rebecca, and we met at the game, had a drink after the game, and the rest, as they say, is history. Well, Rebecca and I were married in the year 2000, so I can always remember what year my anniversary is because it's the calendar year. We got married in St. Mary's Basilica in Halifax, had a reception at the Lord Nelson Hotel. A real highlight was a surprise flyover of the church by my Sea King crew. It was a complete surprise. The piper, after we came out of the church, handed me a radio, and the Sea King came over low, and there was one of my close buddies who came to the dinner later that night, but he requested a special flyby, and the squadron let them do a little flyby, which of course for my family was amazing for them to get to see. With Molly and Jack, I see bits of both myself and of Rebecca in our kids, of course. I think the thoughtfulness that I see, especially in Molly and in Jack, come from their mother, who's probably the most thoughtful person I've ever met. I see aspects of me in the kids as well, and I see aspects of my parents, including my late mom, who, of course, Molly shares the name with. So I'm very fortunate. I've had two very strong women in my life, my mom and then my stepmom, who are formative elements of my life and in the life of our kids. So I don't talk about my private sector time as much, about my military time. I learned a lot working for two of Canada's biggest law firms, working on transactions that were helping grow businesses, defending cases in litigation, corporate disputes. I also worked on the restructuring of companies, including the restructuring of Air Canada as a new lawyer. And then when we were having kids, when we were going to start our family, I left the law firm and environment and went in-house. And I worked for a great company, Procter & Gamble, for over 5 years. I like to joke, for a year I was the global lawyer for CoverGirl Cosmetics. That brand usually surprises people when I tell them CoverGirl. It doesn't come to mind when you first see me, but it was a great opportunity as a Canadian lawyer to work with folks in Baltimore, in Europe, on a global brand that was exciting for the company. I learned a lot about businesses doing business in Ontario and the costs and the pressures of remaining competitive. So that experience in the private sector has been critical to my time in politics. I want to make sure that Canada's a top place to invest, to expand your business, to start a business, because that leads to employment and opportunity and our quality of life. So we need a strong economy, or we can't have strong healthcare, strong old age security, supports for the vulnerable, reconciliation, tackling climate change. If we don't have a strong economy, we can't have a strong country. My time in uniform taught me to respect this country and its people and its institutions. That's why I came to office as an MP that was pro-choice, an ally to the LGBTQ community. I'm here in politics to make our country more successful, to tackle challenges, to stand up in the world, never to erode progress made or the rights of others. I try and bring a respectful approach to everything I do, but I'm here for the well-being of all Canadians. I'm going to stand up for their rights at home and abroad, and we need to build a stronger country that is more equitable. And to do that, we need to get the country back on its feet economically after COVID-19. And I think a new leader with a new approach for the Conservative Party is exactly what our country needs at this crossroads. I often say that Canada's best days are ahead of us, but we can't take anything for granted. We have great healthcare. We have great social programs. We're well respected in the world. Canada's a wealthy, successful country, but we've got challenges and we've got an environment where we could see that erode in a heartbeat. So we need a prime minister who's actually going to deliver. And I think that's been the biggest disappointment with Justin Trudeau, promising the sun, moon, and the stars with no intention to ever deliver. I like to say I'm the prime minister not of the photo op, but of the follow up. That is what we need after COVID. Someone to bring the country together, have a plan to secure our economic future, and someone that will restore faith in politics by actually delivering on what they promised to do.